Have you ever noticed the quiet, lingering anxiety that settles in when the day is supposed to be over, yet you cannot bring yourself to step away? What if the profound exhaustion you carry is not actually from the work itself, but from the invisible weight of trying to prove that you deserve to rest? There is a strange kind of tragedy in how we punish ourselves with productivity. If you have ever felt stuck, anxious, emotionally drained, or unable to simply sit still, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you view your struggles forever. You close your laptop, only to open it again minutes later. You tell yourself, just one more email, just one more task to prepare for tomorrow. The house is quiet, the world outside is still, but your mind is running on a frantic, endless treadmill. You work late not because the deadline strictly demands it, but because somewhere along the way, you deeply internalized a dangerous belief. You convinced yourself that stopping is a failure. You feel that if you pause, everything you have built will collapse. Or worse, if you stop, you will be forced to sit in the silence and face the quiet, terrifying fear that you are falling behind. Buddhist wisdom offers a gentle mirror to this modern suffering. We are taught about the nature of clinging and attachment. Often, we think of clinging in terms of holding on to physical possessions or trying to force relationships to stay. But one of the deepest, most invisible forms of attachment is clinging to our own perceived inadequacies. We attach our fundamental worth as human beings to our daily output. We believe that we must constantly generate value, constantly achieve, just to be worthy of taking up space in the world. Buddhism reminds us that this endless striving is a wheel of suffering, an illusion that keeps us running long after our spirit has broken. Imagine a person frantically rowing a small wooden boat against a rushing current. They row until their hands bleed. They row until their muscles tear and their vision blurs. They believe that if they put the oars down even for a moment, the river will swallow them whole. But they do not realize the river naturally leads to a calm, quiet lake just a few miles downstream. If they only lifted the oars, surrendered their frantic grip, and let the current carry them, they would arrive safe and whole. Instead, they fight the water, believing that the painful struggle is the only thing keeping them alive. This is how so many of us live our lives today. The pressure to succeed and to constantly perform creates a heavy current of fear. Because you do not feel allowed to stop, any small setback at work, any missed goal, or even an unfinished to-do list feels like a monumental threat. We blur the lines between what we do and who we are. When you tie your existence to your effort, a single mistake does not just feel like an error. It feels like a condemnation of your character. So, you stay late. You sacrifice your peace, building a fragile fortress of achievements to protect yourself from the feeling of not being enough. Ask yourself right now, what are you truly afraid will happen if you simply let go? Who are you trying to satisfy when you push yourself past the point of breaking? Pause. Breathe. Notice the tension in your shoulders. Observe that frantic urge to keep going, but do not follow it. Let the feeling of panic rise, and then let it pass, like dark clouds drifting across an endless sky. Peace is not something you earn by working harder. It is something you make space for. But letting go of this relentless control is only the first step, because beneath every late night of overworking is a deeper fear waiting to be understood. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of earning your worth. What if the harder you try to prove your value, the more exhausted and empty you feel inside? Here is the truth few people want to face. The tighter you hold on to the idea that you must earn your right to rest, the more you suffer. You cannot earn what you already are, and you cannot lose your fundamental humanity just because you stopped working for the day. We live in a world that demands continuous, visible proof of our existence. You measure your days by what you produced, rather than how deeply you lived. You sit in the glow of the screen late at night, perhaps managing endless campaigns, or tracking every hidden cost of your life on a complex spreadsheet, desperately trying to calculate the exact price of your security. You believe that if you just finish one more task, produce one more flawless project, or optimize one more process, you will finally feel safe. But the finish line keeps moving. The moment you reach it, your mind pushes it further away, leaving you perpetually starved for a rest you never allow yourself to take. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the danger of conditional self-worth. When we tie our peace to external conditions, praise, perfect execution, or crossing every task off a list, we build a house on shifting sand. Buddhism reminds us that attachment to our ego and to the constructed identity of being the one who works the hardest only breeds deep anxiety. You are inherently whole. Your worth is not a transaction. It is not a currency you must fiercely mine every single day to avoid feeling invisible. Think of a vast, ancient empire that expands too aggressively. It pushes its borders outward, endlessly conquering new ground, trying to control every variable. But it ignores the vital supply lines, the simple human limits, and the undeniable friction of distance. Eventually, the empire fractures. It collapses not from a powerful outside enemy, but from the unbearable, overextended administrative weight of its own ambition. Your mind and body operate the exact same way. When you try to conquer every task and systematically manage every outcome just to prove your worth, your inner foundation begins to break under the immense strain. Now, imagine a simple, sturdy tree standing quietly in a vast, open field. The tree does not panic when its leaves fall in the autumn. It does not force its branches to grow faster just to prove it is alive to the surrounding forest. It simply roots itself deeply into the earth and trusts the quiet, invisible work of the changing seasons. Ask yourself, think about your own life. Who taught you that your rest had to be earned through absolute exhaustion? Is this constant striving bringing you peace, or is it feeding a deep, unacknowledged fear of being inadequate? Pause, breathe. Let the feeling of not being enough rise up without making it your identity. Stop trying to force the door open. Do your part. Put down the heavy armor of perfectionism and then release the outcome to the universe. Because peace is not a final reward for burning yourself out. It is the quiet space you return to when you finally realize you have nothing left to prove. But to truly stop running, you have to face what happens when the protective walls you built around yourself begin to shake. And this is where the next truth begins. 3. When the foundation cracks. What if the moment everything seems to fall apart is actually the moment you are finally set free? Here is the truth. The collapse of your carefully constructed plans is not always a tragedy. Sometimes it is a profound intervention. You spend your life exhausting yourself to prevent setbacks. You double-check every detail. You stay late to ensure no one can criticize your efforts, meticulously managing every outcome. When a project fails, a relationship falters, or a goal is missed, you feel it deep in your chest. It feels as though the very foundation of your life is cracking beneath your feet. You view this crack not as a natural shift in the earth, but as a deep, personal failure. You replay conversations in the dark. You think, I did not work hard enough. I should have anticipated this. You confuse a temporary collapse of circumstances with a permanent collapse of your worth. In Buddhist thought, there is a profound understanding that everything is subject to change. Impermanence is the law of the universe. When we suffer deeply over a setback, it is because we are fiercely clinging to the illusion that we can make a fragile, shifting world permanent. Buddhism reminds us that the cracks in our foundation are not punishments from the universe. They are the necessary breaking of the rigid, heavy shells we built around our own egos. Imagine a beautifully crafted clay pot, sealed tight to keep the unpredictable elements out. It is flawless, polished, and perfectly controlled. But inside, buried in total darkness, there is a tiny, dormant seed. As long as the pot remains perfect, the seed cannot grow. Only when the pot is dropped, only when the hard, heavy clay finally cracks and breaks apart, can light and rain reach the inside. The breaking of the vessel is not a tragedy, it is the birth of the root. We do this constantly in our modern lives. You build a flawless professional identity. You work relentlessly to manage every variable, so you never look foolish, unprepared, or vulnerable. But when the inevitable happens, a sudden failure, a harsh criticism, or an unexpected burden that disrupts your careful timeline, you panic. You feel exposed. You think your life is falling apart, when in reality, life is simply breaking open the tight, suffocating container you trapped your spirit inside. The setback is just the cracking of the clay. Think about your own life. What recent setback made you feel as though your entire identity was crumbling? What are you so deeply afraid will happen if you simply let the broken pieces fall where they may? Is this thought bringing you peace, or feeding your fear of the unknown? Pause. Breathe. Look at the fragments of your disappointment. Observe the thought without following it down into the dark. Let the feeling of failure rise, but do not claim it as your name. Because true peace is not found in building a perfect, unbreakable wall against the world. It is found in the quiet realization that you are still completely whole, even when the wall comes down. But understanding the crack is only half the journey. You must also learn how to look at the pieces left behind without letting them define you. And this is where the next truth begins. 4. You are not what happens to you. What if every failure you have ever experienced was just an event in time and not a reflection of your soul? Here is the truth few people want to face. A mistake is something that happens, not something you are. The tighter you hold onto a setback as a permanent definition of your worth, the more you suffer. We have a deeply ingrained habit of turning temporary events into permanent identities. When you receive sharp criticism, when a careful plan falls apart, or when you simply fail to meet an impossible standard you set for yourself, you do not just say, "That did not work." You say, "I am a failure." You internalize the setback completely. You carry the weight of being ignored, rejected, or mistaken, wearing it like a heavy coat long after the bitter winter has passed. You let an isolated moment in time rewrite your entire sense of self, convincing yourself that this one stumble is the total sum of your existence. Buddhist wisdom reminds us of the profound concept of non-attachment, not just to physical things, but to our own ego and the harsh narratives we spin. When we over-identify with our experiences, we create intense and unnecessary suffering. Buddhism teaches us to become the silent observer of our lives. You are the vast, open sky, and your experiences, the successes, the failures, the praises, and the criticisms are merely the weather passing through. The violent storm does not change the fundamental nature of the sky. Imagine a clear, ancient mirror reflecting a turbulent storm outside a window. Lightning flashes brightly, dark clouds roll in, and heavy rain pours down in sheets. The mirror reflects all of this chaos perfectly and without hesitation. But when the storm finally breaks and the clouds drift away, the mirror is not stained by the rain. It is not shattered by the lightning. The mirror simply returns to reflecting the quiet, empty room. It held the image of the storm for a time, but it never became the storm. This is exactly how we must approach the heavy pressures of modern life. when you face a harsh judgment at work, when you feel miles behind your peers, or when you look at your life and realize it does not match the perfect timeline you planned. You absorb the storm. You let the stress of comparison and the fear of failure stain your reflection. You forget that you are merely witnessing a difficult moment. The setback is just the weather. It is a piece of information about your journey, not an absolute verdict on your worth. Ask yourself, think about your own life. What past failure are you still allowing to dictate your present worth? What heavy, painful narrative are you still holding on to, believing it defines who you are today? Pause, breathe. Let the memory of that failure rise up in your mind. Look at it closely, but do not invite it in to stay. Observe the thought without following it into the darkness. Let the feeling pass without making it your identity. Because peace is not the total absence of mistakes. It is the quiet wisdom to know that no mistake has the power to erase your true nature. But separating your identity from your setbacks is only one part of the healing. You must also learn how to let go of the timeline you so fiercely demand of the world. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The wisdom of impermanence. What if the harder you fight to keep things exactly as they are, the faster they slip through your fingers? Here is the truth few people want to face. The tighter you hold onto a specific season of your life, the more you suffer when the weather inevitably changes. You spend so much of your energy trying to freeze time. You reach a milestone, perhaps you step into a demanding management role, or you finally build the foundation of the life you thought you should have secured by your early 30s. But instead of finding peace in that achievement, you immediately become terrified of losing it. You stay up late managing the hidden, invisible costs of maintaining that perfect image, working relentlessly behind the scenes. You treat every minor setback at work, every delayed project, or every natural fluctuation in your career as a catastrophic threat. It is as if you are paying an agonizing, compounding emotional tax just to keep your life from moving forward. You fear the natural wear and tear of existence. In Buddhist thought, one of the deepest teachings is the reality of impermanence. Everything is in a constant state of flux. The dawn becomes dusk, the storm gives way to clear skies, and our successes and failures rise and fall like the tide. Our deepest suffering arises not from the fact that things change, but from our stubborn, desperate expectation that they will stay the same. Buddhism reminds us that when we accept impermanence, we stop fighting the natural cycle of the universe. We realize that trying to make a temporary situation permanent is the root of our endless exhaustion. Imagine holding a handful of fine, dry sand. If you leave your hand open and relaxed, the sand rests peacefully in your palm. It is safe. But the moment you become afraid of the wind, the moment you panic and clench your fist tightly to protect what you have, the sand immediately begins to slip through the cracks of your fingers. The harder you squeeze, the more rapidly it falls away. You become exhausted, staring at your empty hands, feeling a deep sense of loss. You fail to realize that the tension itself, your desperate need to control and protect, is exactly what forced the sand away. This is how you treat your own success, your relationships, and your peace of mind. You create a rigid expectation of how your career and your daily routine should look. When you experience a setback, or when a project does not unfold exactly the way you planned, you feel the sand slipping. You panic. You stay up later. You try to aggressively control the outcome, feeling completely overwhelmed by the heavy pressure to succeed. You forget that careers, personal ambitions, and even your own internal energy levels have natural seasons. You cannot force an eternal summer. Ask yourself, think about your own life. What phase of your life, or what specific professional identity, are you desperately trying to freeze in place, What are you afraid will happen if you simply let the current take its natural course? Pause, breathe. Feel the tension in your hands. Observe the desperate urge to hold on tight, and then slowly open your grip. Let the feeling of change wash over you without resisting it, because peace is not found in stopping the wind. It is found in learning how to stand in it without closing your hands. But realizing that everything changes is only part of the journey. You must also change the way you read the painful setbacks along the way, and this is where the next truth begins. 6. Setback as information, not condemnation. What if the very obstacle that makes you feel like a complete failure is actually just a neutral signpost on your path? Here is the truth. We do not suffer simply because we make mistakes. We suffer because we falsely believe those mistakes mean we are fundamentally broken. You sit in the dark, working late into the night, staring at a screen until your eyes ache. You are desperately trying to undo a minor error or overcompensate for a project that did not go exactly as planned. You feel a heavy, burning shame in your chest. When you do not feel allowed to stop, when your entire sense of self is tied to being flawless, any obstacle feels like an indictment. You view a dropped ball, a miscommunication, or a missed deadline not as a simple event in time, but as loud, undeniable proof that you are an imposter. You convince yourself that if you just work a little harder, if you just sacrifice a little more of your quiet evening, you can outrun the judgment. You treat your own exhaustion as the penalty you must pay for being human. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the practice of observing without judgment. In Buddhist thought, events themselves are entirely neutral. It is the human ego that rushes in to label them as good or bad, a triumph or a disaster. Buddhism reminds us that deep suffering arises when we take the temporary, ever-changing circumstances of our daily lives and bind them to our permanent soul. A setback is not a reflection of your spirit. It is not a moral failing. It is simply information. Imagine a skilled sailor navigating a wide, unpredictable ocean. In the middle of the journey, the boat suddenly scrapes against a hidden sandbar beneath the water. The boat is momentarily stuck. The sailor does not sit on the deck, weeping, telling themselves that they are a terrible person who deserves to drown. They do not curse their own existence or hate the ocean. They simply look down, acknowledge the shallow water, mark the sandbar on their map, and gently adjust the sail. The bump was not a condemnation of their ability to navigate. It was simply data about the depth of the water. We forget this beautiful simplicity in our own lives. When you face a harsh rejection, when a creative endeavor falls flat, or when your carefully laid professional plans unravel, you do not just adjust your sails. You tear the boat apart. You stay late in the office, ignoring the needs of your own body and mind, trying to violently rewrite reality so you do not have to feel inadequate. You let the immense pressure to succeed blind you to the simple truth. You just hit a shallow patch. You learned where not to steer next time. The event was information, nothing more. Ask yourself, think about your own life. What recent setback are you still using to quietly punish yourself? What would happen if you looked at that failure not as a heavy, permanent sentence, but as a simple, neutral map to guide your next step? Pause, breathe. Let the memory of that recent setback rise in your mind. Observe the plain facts of what happened, but refuse to listen to the harsh story or fear attached to it. Do your part, learn the lesson, and then release the shame, because peace is not living a life where you never hit the sand. It is having the grace to adjust your course without destroying your own ship. But learning to read this information is only a matter of perspective. To truly heal, you must find the strength to physically put the work down, and this is where the next truth begins. 7. The courage to finally pause. What if the bravest thing you could possibly do today is absolutely nothing? Here is the truth few people want to face. The desperate compulsion to keep moving, to keep working, is often just a clever mask for a much deeper fear. We are not always afraid of the work. We are afraid of what we will feel when the work finally stops. You finish your necessary tasks, but you do not log off. You invent new problems to solve. You find another email to send. The silence of the evening feels heavy and terrifying, because in that quiet space, the adrenaline fades. When the noise of productivity drops away, you are forced to sit alone with yourself. You use your late-night ambition as a shield, deflecting the deep exhaustion, the unspoken loneliness, or the lingering feeling that you are somehow falling behind. You do not feel allowed to stop, not because someone is watching, but because you have convinced yourself that stillness is a dangerous void. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound value of stillness. We often believe that meditation is about achieving a mystical trance or fixing our broken thoughts, but at its core, it is simply the practice of staying seated when every instinct screams at us to run. Buddhism reminds us that the mind is inherently clear, but our relentless activity stirs up endless suffering. We do not need to constantly do in order to simply be. True strength is not found in eternal motion. It is found in the willingness to encounter the silence and discover that it cannot hurt us. Imagine a clear glass jar filled with pure water and a handful of dark, heavy dirt. If you constantly shake the jar, believing that you must keep the water moving to keep it safe, the water becomes muddy, chaotic, and completely opaque. You cannot see through it. You cannot understand what is inside. But if you simply set the jar down on a quiet table, if you stop the frantic movement, the heavy dirt naturally sinks to the bottom. The water becomes perfectly clear again. You did not have to fight the dirt. You did not have to forcefully filter the water. You only had to find the courage to put the jar down. This is what happens when you finally close the laptop and step away from the unending shift. When you first stop, the mind is still cloudy. The guilt of resting violently shakes you. You think of the deadlines, the unread messages, and the heavy expectations of tomorrow. You feel the intense pressure to succeed, clouding your vision. But if you hold your ground, if you refuse to shake the jar, the anxiety will eventually settle. The false identity you built around your productivity will sink to the bottom, and your true, clear self will remain. Ask yourself, think about your own life. What painful feeling are you desperately trying to outrun by working so late? What are you afraid the silence will say to you if you finally pause? Pause, breathe, step away from the screen, sit in the uncomfortable quiet, and observe the guilt of resting without following it. Let the fear of stopping rise, and then watch it settle like dust quietly falling to the floor. Because peace is not found by constantly outrunning the quiet. It is found by bravely stepping into it and realizing you are safe. But pausing is only the preparation. To truly heal the hidden wound, you must remember who you were before the world told you to start running. And this is where the final truth begins. 8. Returning to your true self. What if the permission to rest was yours all along, quietly waiting for you to claim it? We began this journey looking at that heavy, lingering anxiety, the quiet panic that settles in when the day is supposed to be over. Yet you cannot bring yourself to step away. For so long, you have carried the profound exhaustion of trying to prove you deserve to exist. You tied your fundamental worth to your daily output, believing that if you just worked a little harder, if you stayed up a little later, you could outrun the fear of not being enough. But look at the heavy armor you have been wearing. You have fought the rushing current, bleeding your hands on the oars, terrified that the river would swallow you if you stopped. You have clenched your fists tightly around the dry sand, watching your peace slip away through the cracks of your desperate control. You built a flawless clay pot around your spirit, only to panic when life naturally broke it open so the seed inside could finally grow. Buddhism reminds us that this endless striving is an illusion. You do not have to frantically construct a perfect identity to protect yourself from the world. You are not the sudden storm that passes through your life. You are the vast, untouchable sky. The setbacks, the missed goals, the sharp criticisms, they are not permanent condemnations of your soul. They are just the shallow sandbars in the ocean. They are simply information. When you realize that your worth is not a currency you must endlessly mine, everything changes. You stop shaking the jar of muddy water. You let the heavy dirt of your anxiety, your comparison, and your relentless ambition sink quietly to the bottom. And what is left behind is clear, calm, and completely whole. Think about the profound relief that is waiting for you. Imagine walking away from the heavy pressure to succeed, not because you gave up, but because you finally understood what truly matters. The work will always be there tomorrow. The projects, the endless demands, the expectations of a busy world, they will never truly disappear. But your time, your quiet evenings, and your brief, beautiful moments of stillness are entirely finite. Do not trade the precious peace of your present moment for a false sense of security in the future. You do not have to wait for the impossible day when every task is perfectly finished and every expectation is flawlessly met. That day does not exist. The only reality is this present moment. You can choose to log off. You can step away from the noise and stand in the silence, trusting that the world will continue to spin even if you are not pushing it. You are allowed to take up space simply because you are here. You are allowed to rest, not as a reward for burning yourself out, but as a basic, undeniable human right. Ask yourself, one final time, who would you be if you finally stopped trying to earn your own love? What would your life look like if you simply accepted that you are already enough, exactly as you are, right now? Pause, breathe. Feel the immense weight lifting from your shoulders. Observe the quiet space you have created for yourself and fiercely protect it. Put down the heavy expectations. Step out of the unending shift and gently return to your true self. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.